How's the old saying go? Up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a dinosaur? One of the most enduring and quite frankly bizarre legends of the Mojave Desert is that of surviving dinosaurs. And while you might immediately think of giant land-dwelling animals, you might just be surprised. Many accounts, both modern and historic, deal with flying dinosaurs. Aerial sightings of large unidentified objects in the desert are common. But we're not talking your classic UFO or flying saucer report. We're talking flying dinosaurs. Pterodactyls, to be precise. And while to our modern sensibilities and scientific knowledge, the whole thing might sound beyond fantastic, that wasn't always the case. In August of 1891, the Los Angeles Herald carried this story. Hunters north of Bakersfield had told people up in Fresno that they had seen not one, but two giant flying reptiles while out in the field. Described as monstrosities that were half bird and half alligator, the creatures had swooped in on the hunters, snapping their jaws and making sounds that sounded, to quote the article, like a swan, but not a swan. At first, the reports were discounted as malarkey, but soon others came forward with their own tales of seeing the strange creatures. They were called dragons, but scientists looking at the report said they sounded remarkably like sightings of pterodactyls, a creature that had supposedly been extinct for hundreds of millions of years. So what was going on? Soon a report came in that another group of hunters out looking for the things were able to get a shot at one. And while it didn't fall down dead, it did leave a blood trail which they followed for 3 miles. Leading to the banks of a small stream, they found where it had set down, leaving large tracks that resembled those of an alligator and measured to be 11 inches wide and 19 inches long. No body was recovered, and it was felt the animal had regained its strength before flying off with his companion. A few more reports came in from other hunters, but after 1892, no more articles appeared in the local papers concerning these two particular animals. But that didn't mean the phenomenon had stopped. Far from it. Over the turn of the century, reports of flying reptiles in the desert continued to come in, mainly from hunters, prospectors, and scientists. The only types that were really out in the backcountry, because you got to understand, before the advent of the modern car and four-wheel drive, not many people were out in the backcountry. But the reports did come in, and they continue to come in, and they've changed a little bit. In 1908, 2 associates of the British Museum were hunting for fossils in a cave near Malibu Ranch when they were supposedly driven off by a huge flying creature described as half bat and half reptile, and resembling, in their own words, a living pterodactyl. The creature, letting out a fiendish scream, escaped into the mountains towards the desert and was not seen again. And all this before the first great living dinosaur movie was ever shown. Not until 1925 was the public flooded with the idea of there being surviving dinosaurs. The film, entitled The Lost World, debuted to startled audiences and featured surviving flying dinosaurs, along with other raptors and even ape men. But does that make the early reports any more real? And again, more articles continue to surface from time to time. In 1931, this article ran about the mysterious death of a cow owned by a Mrs. Tinkham. Apparently, it had been found in a field with its back bruised and broken, and no other marks, leading people to believe that it had been hit by something hard, presumably from the air, as the branches of a tree it was near had been sheared off at a height of 15 to 20 feet. At first, people thought it might have been hit by a low-flying plane, but pilots from the local airport said that would certainly have caused the plane to crash. People then came forward floating the theory that the giant Pterodactyls were back and had been out hunting. And, of course, that was the angle the paper ran with. It ended saying the investigation continues. Now, up to the present day, reports still come in, but they are more anecdotal than mainstream media. We don't see these type of articles anymore. And while we've always had reports of giant birds in the desert, the phenomenon of giant flying reptiles has morphed. Instead of just flying dinosaurs, we now get prehistoric reptiles along with demon flyers and Mothman type entities. But always with one maddening aspect: no pictures or bodies. So in the end, do we still have surviving flying dinosaurs in the desert? Well, I guess along with UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, and other phenomenon, until someone brings in an actual specimen, we're left with these tantalizing reports and personal stories. And outside of the Congo or the Amazon, I guess the great and vast Mojave Desert is as good a place as any to find creatures that time forgot. Now, before I sign off, I have a little story for you, a personal encounter. When I was working on this episode, I was down in Joshua Tree near the Pinot Basin. It was evening and I went out for a hike. I had been walking along and all of a sudden up in the sky, I saw a huge bird, and what at first I thought was a bird, coming towards me. It wasn't flapping its wings, it was just gliding along. And as it got closer, it got bigger. And when it got a little closer and then turned slightly, I saw its head was massive. I'm talking like that long and like that wide. And I'm thinking, oh my God, no effing way, right? This is like, no way I'd be seeing this when I'm working on a story about it. Then just as he got closer, it turned again and it was a pelican, a huge pelican. Now, you might say, what's a pelican doing in the desert? Well, down by the Pinot Basin, it's about 30 miles from the Salton Sea, which is an inland body of water. And pelicans and seagulls hang out down there and sometimes ride the thermals through the desert as they're cruising along. So, does that prove every report of a flying dinosaur is a pelican or a bird? No, of course not. But it does make you wonder, or at least it makes you understand how something could be misinterpreted. But for all the stories, well, I don't know. That's what makes it a mystery. I'm ML Behrman. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, ML Behrman here. I'd want to thank you for watching the video and personally invite you to join the channel. And if you would, give it a thumbs up. It really does help. Thanks.